Paltrocast.
Hey, awesome. We're live.
We're live. How is it going aside from answering the same questions over and over and over again, Robert?
If I don't know, it's like funny. Like I think I've just gotten used to, being able to go back to to answer these questions. But I don't know. It's like I never try to copy and paste my answers. So like I feel like I always try to think about the questions from a different perspective each time.
Sure.
Because if you went back and watched all the interviews from this Good Half release, you may find similarities in like the themes we're covering, but I think there's so much to talk about that it's like hard to really go one way with it. But also like we're just starting, the movie's coming out on the 23rd of July and it's all kind of ramping up right now. So yeah, it's like Tribeca was the first showing of the first cut. And then we got to go back in and actually finish our film. And then now it's coming out for real.
Yes.
So yeah, like it's all, my brain is just like being activated now for the first time in a way. So,
well, related to this film, my history with Mr. Robert Schwartzman goes back to seeing Rooney a bunch of times because I used to work with OK Go and Super Drag and different bands that were kind of on your periphery. And then I think I remember seeing you solo opening up for Fountains of Wayne, etc.
Yeah.
Way back when, did you know, hey, I'm a film director, or is this a more of a recent organic transition?
I mean, the funny thing is I always wanted to make movies. Like directing movies was like when I was young, I for some reason, I was writing movies with friends. I got to work on sets and be around filmmakers, which was like a joy to be so close to these great films. But yeah, like I never actually imagined myself ever making music. It was the other way around. Like starting a band was totally out of nowhere for me. My brother had started Phantom Planet, so I would go to his shows and like that was my closest thing. And then he would take me to see bands play in LA. And when you're in LA, you're lucky because you get to see all these great venues. You're around on these great venues where great bands come through. So you're lucky to the exposure of like really good music. But yeah, starting a band was like really weird and crazy. And singing in a band, like no way. Like singing in front of people, absolutely not. Like I never thought I would ever sing. I just started kind of writing music out of nowhere and like got swept up into the music industry. But my goal was like, when am I going to pivot back to like trying to direct movies? That was kind of the goal for me in the long run. And I finally was able to do that. So I toured for almost, 12, 13, 14 years. And then I was like, I'm going to try to write. I'm going to take my own advice that I give my director friends, which is like, I keep telling all these really cool music video directors that I meet on Rooney videos, like you should make movies. And they're like, well, how do we do that? Or what do you think? And I'm like, I don't know. You should just write a script that you could like shoot, like, and not wait around for somebody to give you their blessing or some crazy permission to go shoot it. Right. Just go write something that's like within reach. And then I was like, screw it, I'm going to take my own advice. So I worked on a script that was within reach and then made this movie. And that got me really like, it opened my eyes to like, oh my God, like I think I could do this again. And, I could like maybe do this another time. So I did The Unicorn after Dreamland. Mm-hmm. That was like, let's get people together. Let's like, pull people together that want to create and find and ask if we can go do this together. And usually there's like a willingness. A lot of people feel the same thing, which is like a frustration of like, I'm not getting to do what I want to do. And even if you're lucky and you're hired on a TV show or a movie set, those projects might not be what you really want to be doing, creatively. Right. So when you get to like bring someone an indie project that allows this feeling of, like I could collaborate more. This could be more interesting to work with these people. You can find the right pockets of people that will say yes. And I think that's what got me going on these movie projects. And it just it's been growing where I just like, my brain is now kind of hardwired now to just be like, what's the next movie we're going to go make? Right. Or like how I've been producing stuff for other filmmakers. And like, I just the indie world I love because you don't have to sit around and wait forever to get the magic equation of like, I'm going to make this movie because so-and-so is going to be in it and so-and-so is going to buy it. But, if you scale up and you make bigger movies, it's more expensive, and more expensive means less risk, and less risk means more people to de-risk the movie by pre-selling rights or things like that.
Yeah.
So that's when you start to now box yourself back into this, like, not having what you need to make movies faster. And then if you shrink it back down, you can make movies faster again. So I see this world of back and forth of maybe trying to scale up and keep my independent like life like fulfilled. And then music too. Like I love playing shows, and it's like making a movie, sort of like making an album. I get to write music for my movies, so Rooney like lives on in my films in a way.
Sure.
So
Well,
yeah.
well, to rudely interrupt you, in knowing some of your former bandmates for Rooney, I learned how big Rooney was in Germany, for example. You had a lot
Yeah,
of overseas success. Is that translating to your filmmaking career, or is it starting from ground zero with all that?
it's starting from zero because I think I mean it's not zero in that like I'm taking my experiences from music and I'm applied it to how I the process of how I make movies. So I've there's so many great lessons from music that are so meaningful to the filmmaking side.
Mm-hmm.
It's zero in that I don't think that the music fans like not everyone who likes Rooney or my music will just suddenly grab onto the movie.
At this point, for now.
At this point, yeah, for now. Maybe down the road, maybe as I keep showing that I'm still going to keep making movies, people go, "Oh, he's making movies." It's not like a one-off kind of a thing.
Correct.
So, but yeah, like I mean, it's funny. It's coming out at the end of the year. And you could sync back up with me and talk about it. But I directed a documentary that's coming out about the band The Zombies, this famous, yeah, British band.
Well, one of my favorite groups ever, and there was that great podcast that came out about the fake zombies last
Yeah,
week.
of course.
Yeah.
Yeah, so the Zombies movie is coming out later this year, and I directed it, and it was at South by last year, and it's finally going to hit theaters in November. But that's a nice little connective piece because that's really that's from my music life to my film life, and a doc is different, but we still made it has these cinematic moments, even though it's still a doc format.
Yeah.
But yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, it's like I just want to make stuff. So if people, catch on, when they catch on, how they catch on, it's kind of for everybody to figure out. But hopefully, just because you like something I made musically doesn't necessarily mean you have to be interested in my film projects. But I think that like maybe my music and my film might have some connective idea of like how I tell stories or how I write songs or sort of nostalgia, like the things that I find to be fulfilling creatively you might see that in my work in other ways. So
wow. Well, my last question is a quick one before I let you go, because the whole world wants to speak with Robert Schwartzman today.
Yes.
That last question, this is really an all-star cast. When you look at all the people that committed to your film, who was the first one that came on board?
Elizabeth Shue.
Wow.
Mom. Our mom character Lily was the first, and it's funny, we started in 2019. I found the script towards the end of the year and like officially joined the project, and then like a few months later, like no one's leaving their house and like you can't go outside, kind of a thing. So it went from just like raise a glass to just like, oh, okay, what are we gonna do now?
Right.
And most of my cast meetings were on Zoom. So like we sent the script out, people read it, maybe liked it to take a meeting, maybe it wasn't for them, who knows what the response was. But I really wanted to work with Elizabeth Shue. Like I've always been a big fan of hers. And I love her movies. I was like I grew up through the 80s and 90s. So like obviously that it's such a big run.
Yeah.
So yeah, like the idea of working with her was like a dream, and she really loved this script and had great ideas for it. And she was my like anchor, and I really appreciate that from her. And I'm always, if you met her, you would see she's like she doesn't put herself up there enough. Like she doesn't think of herself on that level that we all do. And maybe it's just like, oh, come on, I don't know, like that kind of a thing.
Yeah.
But I'm like, oh, Elizabeth, like people love you in this movie. You're fantastic in this movie. Like it's important that you're a part of this journey with us, as on the release. And you have to kind of rally her, but she's such a talent, and I think she needs to always be reminded of that.
Agreed. Well, congrats on The Good Half. The title alone makes you think of Goodfellas, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, yeah.
Looking forward to the zombies documentary you
Thank you.
mentioned, and your music. And thank you for your time, Robert.
Thank you, Darren. I appreciate that.
Paltrocast.